Hello, and welcome to another episode of Breadcast Gaming Talk. This was very much a new experience for me. For the longest time, I stayed away from these kinds of games because I knew that I would get so frustrated I'd probably break my computer, headset, controller, and whatever else is near me. But I was bored and had nothing to play, and thus I decided to try and manage to finish Dark Souls Remastered, and now I'm going to talk about it. Dark Souls is a very interesting game in that there is a nice simplicity to the story. You are first asked to ring the 2 bells of awakening. Once you do that, you get the Lord Vessel that you take to Firelink Altar, and then after you go about getting the Lord Souls and Fragment, you then have to bring those back to the Lord Vessel and Firelink Altar, and that will open the door to the final area where you will get to go and beat the final big boss guy. Of course, the truth in the matter is that while the basics of this idea sound simple, none of it really is, because it's Dark Souls. I know that I don't need to say this, but you will die a lot, and there's nothing you can do about it. For me, it was mostly getting pushed off of the very small walking areas you have to traverse. Like either from an enemy getting up close and personal, or an enemy using magic or arrows to just kind of nudge me right off to falling to my death, which is just great. I have to admit there were some areas I was not a fan of, not in a negative sense, but in a sense that it kind of just like hit some of those senses, like going to the crystal caverns and having to walk on invisible paths. No, I say to you, no. I don't like that one bit. But I sucked up my frustration and I managed to push on through the game. I have to say that I think it's really neat that you can wield a 2-handed weapon with one hand if you want to. And I like that you can just press the button that will put your shield on your back and then allow you to use both hands to not just grab onto a 2-handed weapon with both hands, but grab onto any weapon with both hands. Yeah, you can wield a one-handed weapon with both hands if you want to. You can even have one-handed weapons equipped in both hands. I didn't really see like a functional dual wield, but I didn't really play around with it that much, so there might be. Now, I typically don't talk about sounds, music in these kinds of videos, but I'm going to this time, probably not. This is because one of the sounds that I heard throughout the entire game was the sound of my armor clinking and clamoring around as I'm walking, and it was so loud, but it's only loud because for 90% of the game there is no music. Now, I looked on Google and found that this was indeed a choice by the developers to only have music during boss battles and like 2 times when you return to the Firelink Shrine and nowhere else. It's apparently because they want you to pay attention to your environment, but not just visually, but through sound as well, and that they thought that putting music in other places in the game would take away from the player being able to just strategize during the game. Now look, there is an art in movies and video games of knowing when and when not to use music, and that is something that I can understand a lot, and I respect what the developers are going for, even if I don't agree with it. Yeah, I'm honestly wishing that there was more music in the game when I'm walking around killing the basic bad guys. At this point, I'm playing the game again, and I have my own music playing under the game, and it's really nice. To me, the lack of music kind of just makes the world feel empty, but that's just my opinion. I do love how smart the enemies are in this game, even the basic ones. They will block you if they have a shield. They will do the jump back dodge thing to dodge your attacks, and some enemies will even dodge your arrows and or throwing knives too, and I gotta give the developers credit for making some really well done enemies all around. Something I did notice that is weird about the enemies is how like when they die, their bodies seem to get stuck on the player. Like, I'll kill an enemy, and suddenly, like, it's, like, magnetized to me and is like dragging as I'm walking, or if I, sometimes if I do a move, it'll get like thrown off of me, and it's kind of strange when it happens, but it does happen. It is pretty obvious to say, though, that this game is punishing and you will die a lot. However, the enemies are designed and programmed well, and as much as I do wish the game had more music, I do understand what the developers were going for. Dark Souls Remastered is a good and enjoyable game. That's all I have to say, so if you're out of the conversation, leave a comment below. As always, thanks for listening, and goodbye.